What's up, girl?
Hey!
Hey now.
How's everybody out there doing?
Day 437 of quarantine.
Big breath. Cleansing breaths.
Deep breath.
We need our cleansing breaths. Welcome to the Sinner and the Saint. I'm Melissa Bell.
And I'm Allison Kane.
And before we even get to today's topic, I have to tell you, Allison, that something you said last week in our video was so freeing for me, and I have thought about it all week long.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's not me, that was God, so fill me in on it.
Yeah, so I had said I felt like the church had failed my mother because my mother never truly understood God's grace and mercy. Right. And you said, I don't think we failed her at all, or anybody for that matter. That's not our job, that's God's job. And God will reveal it to them. And it freed me from the guilt of not, expressing it to my mother as much. Not to mention it frees me from some of the stress and pressure of the people around me that I just want them to get it.
I know. Oh my gosh. I wish that there was something that we could do. And I think I had to learn that the hard way a long time ago, that I just had to turn those people over to God because there's nothing I can do. I remember, reading it or hearing it or something. And I remember whoever said it, they were like, look, it's a process and it goes from 0 to 100. Imagine it like that. And you never get to take someone from 0 to 100. 100 is accepting Christ, right? But along the way, you could be the next step for them. You could be number 27, number 62. You could be step 75. And then you think about all the people that you may have been able to bring to say the sinner's prayer with, and they come to know Christ, but you hadn't done anything for them their whole lives, but you're the one who gets to be there for that shining moment. And I was like, wow, that is so freeing for me. And yeah. I'm just thankful. Well, I'm glad it came up, and I'm glad that your heart feels free from that, because mine certainly does as well.
Well, and I love what you just said. Also, that goes to show that we don't do the big things. We just do little things, right?
It never feels like enough, right?
Right.
But that's all we can do as that tiny little, whatever it is. Is it planting the seeds? Is it throwing a little water on it here and there, sprinkling it a little fertilizer here and there? Just, whatever that is for that person. And I guess I've started to find joy in that over the years, that it's like, okay, I did my little part, and maybe I'll get to come along and be another part down the road, or maybe that was all that I'm ever going to be able to add to their journey, and I'll never see them again until heaven one day. But hopefully we'll be there. So, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it has created a lot of turmoil in my heart for a very long time once I finally got the grace and mercy. And so it was a lot of turmoil and angst, which kind of brings us to our topic today, which is street fighting with God. You like to say wrestling, but your friend Lauren says street fighting, and I'm more of a street fighter myself. So
I like it. It's kind of like the Message translation. It's gritty and in your face, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I thought if we just kind of break down that idea of wrestling and fighting with God, if we could talk about today, really break down why we get angry with God.
Because, I have so many.
I mean, when I started to think about that, I was like, wow, you sound like a selfish, spoiled brat.
Oh, so selfishness is one reason.
Because it's like something happened to me that I don't think I deserve, that certainly I've been a good enough person for that not to happen to me.
Right.
This is not what my plan was. It didn't fit along with what I wanted to do, something didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out at that time. think about it. When else something happens to someone that we love, and it's
Right?
like, I'm mad at you, God, for letting that happen.
Yeah. And pride can get in the way too. You know, like you said, like I am actually a very good person. So why do I have to have this happen to me?
Exactly. When really that goes back to last week, right? That topic of why do bad things happen to good people? You know,
Yeah.
I can often, as we've mentioned before, say to God, like, I don't get it, God. Like, my plan sounded so good in my head. I had it all figured out. Like, I just don't know why you have to mess things up.
You're going to love the questions. So I have written up the questions for this week, and I love it because one of them is, you know, a time that you thought your world was falling apart and you had these great plans, but they didn't really go that way. And then to reflect, you know, did it turn out better than you ever imagined? Which most of the time for me it does.
I will tell you, I always learn something incredible. And I'm not saying it's not hard and it doesn't suck sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it can be horrible going through that storm, going through that trial, going through that pruning of branches. But when I get to the other side, it is amazing what I've learned. And the person that I've come out being more refined by his fire is definitely someone that I'm more proud of after I've gone through that than the person who started, for sure.
Yeah, and you know, the longer you walk with God and the longer that you invest in your relationship and your personal relationship with God, the more He will continue to prune you. And you wonder, when will I ever be done? But the truth is, this side of heaven, we never will be done.
Oh, I know.
So
We never get to cross it off. I had to put that to bed a long time ago too. You know me, my big type A personality, love checking off a list. I'll even write things on the list that I've already done so I can cross them out. So I have some accomplished things, checked off. And I had to just accept, I'm never going to be done. Not here. That's right. And that can
so
be
that makes me
challenging.
laugh. I imagine you reading the Proverbs 31 woman trying to check all these lists.
Yeah, I can't. I gotta stay out of that. I gotta go to the other stuff. I know. Well, I was reading through the book of Jonah, and he is angry a lot in there. I mean, it talks, if I'm looking at scriptures, Jonah was greatly displeased and became angry with God. God even asked him, how do you have the right to be angry? And then Jonah says, I am angry enough to die. He sounds like a 3-year-old in the floor throwing a temper tantrum.
Sounds like me.
Like me too, right? Yeah, I can sound like a selfish brat laying in the middle of the floor throwing a temper tantrum. And I started thinking, Jonah was really angry with God because of God's amazing grace that he had for the people of Nineveh. He wanted to send Jonah off to share with those people, like, watch out, change your ways so you don't, have to, God's wrath does not come upon you. He was really mad at God for giving those people a second chance. He didn't think they deserved it. And that really makes me think as well. Like, sometimes we can be really angry because God has so much grace. I don't think we get mad at God for giving us grace.
Right.
We'll take
right.
all that, right?
Yeah.
But when we consider that he can give other people who have wronged us or done something we think is awful, that he can give them grace, the same grace he gives us, the good people, that can cause a lot of anger.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because just recently, some of this can stem from unforgiveness.
Oh, yes.
Which is a whole nother topic that
we're
going to
have to podcast, girl.
Yeah, but I was thinking about a particular situation and I was just so annoyed by this, probably on social media, right? I was so annoyed. I was like, oh, why? That's so annoying. And I just wanted to tell them about themselves. But yeah, there's probably a couple thousand people that want to tell me about myself,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I thought if we could share in this, I think if we narrow it down to like 3 really easy things and important things that you can do when you are experiencing anger towards God, when you find this welling up inside you and you feel like you're wrestling something out with God, I think the first of those steps is recognizing it. Recognizing, hey, I'm reacting out of anger. I'm really mad. Where's that coming from? So acknowledging it, just exposing that within yourself that you are angry is a huge step.
Yeah, I was, as you were saying that, I was thinking I've actually had someone come to me before and say, do you think that you might be holding some anger about this? And I, number one, was grateful that they felt like they could have that conversation with me.
Yes.
But, like, thank you, because you can't see it when you're in your own blinding rage, right?
It's so true. I imagine it like that tornado. When you're in the middle of the tornado and the houses and the cars and the cows are all swirling around you, your visibility is 0, right? But it's the people that are outside the storm from afar that are a few miles away that can see the direction that it's going, that can see, the harm that it's doing. And so if we can just put our pride aside and listen to those people and not be angry at them for pointing out our mess, then that really goes into number 2. I mean, that person approached you, but the second thing is you got to talk it out with someone.
Yeah.
Got to be willing to share.
I have some people that I have literally said, and you're one of them, if ever there is something you need to tell me, and if it's going to hurt my feelings, oh well, because I'll be better for it in the end. And it's finding those people that you can trust, that are tried and true, but also if you don't have that person in your life, counseling, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't feel like some things are really personal and you just don't feel like exposing yourself to a close friend, or you just don't have someone that you're ready to talk to about something, go to a counselor. That's what they're there for. Hey, they have to listen to us when we go pay them.
Yeah.
But then hopefully they'll get you to a phase and that next step when you can talk to someone, in your life that can hold you accountable. And I think, you're one of those people in my life too. And I'm so thankful for that. I can always, no matter what you say to me, even if it's hard for me to hear, I don't mind, because I know your heart. And your heart is not, I'm pointing this out to make you feel bad about yourself or you're a terrible person. It's, I love you and I want you to be better, and I want you to be able to figure this out and move past it. And so I think when you have those people in your life and you know their heart and where they're coming from, that's huge. And then, the third and most important thing is you got to talk it out with God, because you ain't keeping no secrets from him anyway.
Yeah, and we touch on this in the podcast, but journal it out and just tell him exactly how you're feeling, because like you say, he already knows.
He does, but he wants to hear it from you. He wants to hear it from us. He wants us to confess that anger and, to be able to just have a conversation. It's like anytime you're angry with somebody, if you can hash it out with them, it always helps. And so there have been many times when I just have had to go to God and just literally wrestle it out with him and say some things that weren't so nice and I shouldn't say, but then I know that he can handle it. He's big enough to handle it. And I'm big enough to go back and say, I'm so sorry for saying those things to you, God. Forgive me. And he knows I mean it. And thanks for listening. And it really helps. It's like anytime you can hash it out with that person that you're angry with. And so even though he knows, people always usually can tell when you're mad at them, but when you get to really hash it out with one another, it makes a huge difference. I think those are 3 really important steps to moving forward in our wrestling, our street fighting, our anger issues with God.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to bring up about the podcast, something that we talk about is doubt. Because you have doubt does not mean that you have less faith. Right. And I think it's the same thing. just because you get angry with God, I think oftentimes we feel like Christianity is a walk in the park and the birds are singing and everybody is happy and we are 100% in full agreement with God all the time because that's what God's word says. But that's not really how it is.
No.
So that's like this fairy tale Hallmark version of Christianity.
Yeah, and if anybody ever tells you that that's what their relationship with the Lord is like, you should be really wary of anything else they say. I've never met any Christian, like authentic Christian, that has ever had like this perfect relationship where everything is honky-dory all the time.
Yeah.
I've just never seen that happen because we do live in this world, this broken world.
Yeah. So I do love that you say that, and I do think that the same thing. If you're mad at God, it doesn't mean that you don't believe in him. It doesn't mean you don't love him. It doesn't mean you don't have faith. It just means that right now, y'all need to work something out.
Right. That's right. Just like in a marriage, you know, just because, you know, I remember when the kids were little, if Matt and I had a disagreement, they were so worried that, oh, why are you mad? Because it didn't happen all the time, and they were so worried. I'm like, it's okay. We love each other. We're not going to agree on everything.
Yeah.
We're just going to talk it out. And so it's the same with God. It doesn't mean that you don't love him. And of course, he always loves you. And
thankfully,
he's there for us, and he's big enough to take it. Thank goodness, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see people's responses to this. I had a great time writing out the questions, and make sure you listen to the podcast. Of course, the YouTube, we're here just to supplement our podcast material, and we would love to hear from you and hear the things that you want to hear about. Yeah, because we could talk to each other all day. Sometimes we do.
Sometimes we do. It's cheaper than therapy.
Yes.
So find a good friend. So we're going to dance it out. Thanks for joining us. We'll dance you out, and until next week.
All right. See you later. I hope people dance with us.
I know. Do you think we're dancing ourselves?
It wouldn't be the first time for me.
You should have seen my daughter's face when I was dancing to 80s hip hop in the kitchen last night. It's just, it's so weird.
We need to Zoom that.
Until next time, ladies, thanks for joining us.